Hey, Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs Podcast presented by DraftKings, America's top-rated sportsbook. Make sure you download the app. Use the promo code CHGO when you sign up. The Cubs didn't win. The Cubs didn't lose. The game was just washed out in Cincinnati. The rubber match between the Cubs and Reds. We waited for it. First, it was delayed. Then it was completely rained out, and now they will play that as a split doubleheader coming on September 1st, which I'm sort of surprised it didn't happen faster than it did, to be honest with you. I know when it happens at Wrigley Field, everybody says, oh, they're trying to sell beers or whatever. There's nobody at the ballpark. So this was clearly, and they have a tornado watch in Cincinnati until 4 o'clock Chicago time today. So they were expecting massive weather to roll through there pretty much all day long. I know it wasn't heavy rain to start, but if you're the Reds and you're looking at this and you can say, listen, we could play this now when there's 30 people in the stands and we might have a tornado on our hands, or we could play this in September when kids are out of school. They're going to take the one where you can play it when the kids are out of school and it's warm outside. So Not totally surprising. Luke Stuckmeyer, Ryan Herrera, Cody Del Mendo with you after the Cubs rained out. The only disappointing part for me, guys, is that the Cubs had just had this great 3 innings against the Reds where they score 11 runs in the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th inning again in the big comeback last night. And none of it is able to carry over because the game gets washed out. So my question is, do you believe in momentum in baseball? Is it a real thing?
I do, but I also lineups change so much. And I know we're going to talk about it, but like Patrick Wisdom's had a last couple of days. He was out of the lineup today, if I'm not mistaken. Unless I read wrong.
Yeah, Madrigal was in.
So it's like you're one of your hotter hitters is out of the lineup, and people are going to be angry. And I got some stats that maybe will help calm some of those nerves of people that are just pissed off about that.
Oh,
anyway, but I do. I mean, I think momentum is a thing in baseball. I will say that the lineups do change enough that it kills some of that. Just on a day-by-day basis, momentum dies just based on the lineup changing, the starting pitcher changing, whoever it is. That said, it was only 3 good innings when they've had 3 straight losses, and we're losing for 6 of those innings yesterday, or for most of 6 innings like yesterday, right? So maybe an off day for the Cubs isn't a bad thing. Going into a pretty rough stretch the next couple weeks,
yes,
maybe an extra off day isn't the worst thing for this Cubs team. Is, if nothing else, a little bit more of like a reset. Get that off day in, a little bit of a break, get ready for the Rangers this weekend.
Yeah, man, I guess I agree that momentum is a thing. I think the routine is kind of the more important thing, because you get these guys playing every day and they just get into that mode. It's the first week, so obviously a lot of guys are a little bit more amped than I guess you might say in mid-May or June or even July. But so it's like the beginning of the season, and guys are still trying to get to like a point of getting into their routine. So maybe that's the only thing that this hurts the Cubs in a way, I guess. But whatever. I agree with Ryan. I think it is a good day for have an extra off day for them going into this series with the Rangers, which I don't think will be easy. They've played pretty well, to start the year, and they have as far as offense, they have really good. The top of their lineups pretty good, just like the Cubs in terms of up the middle, so this is going to be an interesting test this weekend. And I guess as far as guys getting rest, I'm glad Keegan Thompson gets another rest day, and they could possibly use him on Friday if they wanted to. But yeah, at the very least, most of the team would be pretty fresh for the weekend series.
Fernando picked up the slack, by the way, for Barb. Yes, this is live, Fernando. We're doing it live if you're watching it right now at 2 o'clock.
I will say we lost some momentum on the CHGO Cubs show because we ended yesterday with Peck singing Creed.
Yeah, high vibe.
We got a rain out. We're at home. We're not. It's a little bit lost of momentum on this show, so we're gonna have to pick it back up.
Yeah, ironically,
I was already like a few minutes away from the CHGO studio before I was at a stoplight and saw the notifications on my phone. Oh, everyone turn around, go home, do the show remote because, the game's going to be delayed for a couple hours. I'm like,
yep.
Dang it.
Womp, womp.
Thank God.
Yeah.
I actually had the car today. Didn't ride the scooter.
I was going to say the scooter, you would have died.
How-
the
what is the
electricity
car?
would
It's
have
like
died halfway.
Yeah.
Was it
I
a
would
10
have.
minute-
Be in
10-minute
Rogers
drive?
Park right now.
Yeah.
a 10-minute drive from where you live, Cody, something like that. You can deal with it. Me and Luke got a little bit more of a commute.
You're right.
By the way, so the whole momentum thing, it's interesting in the chat. Hi to everybody in the chat. Thanks for jumping on at an odd time. We just thought we'd come on since the game was washed out. Why not do a show? Why not talk about it? Ken says momentum is the next day starting pitcher. That was a quote from Vince Scully. And I saw somebody else say they were at the 21-0. I think it was Ginger said she was at the 21-0 game last year. And it doesn't exist because the next day they couldn't score anything, right?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Like, I've heard this debate on sports radio many times just about momentum in sports, right? And I know it's sort of meatheady to believe science and analytics. Brendan might tell us. I'd be curious what Brendan thinks. Like, numbers-wise, the stats people, the non-Delmetrics people of the world would tell you that you still have the same chance. It's still 50-50. Like, everything is still the same. It doesn't matter what the result was the time before. And yet, I will sit and watch a sporting event, and if Steph Curry hits 5 straight shots, I got to tell you, my gut tells me the next shot is going in. I know it's just as unlikely. It's just as likely to be a miss as it is a make. But it doesn't feel that way. And I know it doesn't feel that way to the athletes either. So I'll say this. Momentum, certainly, if it doesn't impact a daily game, it does impact the psyche and confidence of a player, which I do think has an impact on a game. I don't know how you quantify it because, as Ginger was saying, a lot of times you see a team score 12 runs like the Cubs did last night. And the old adage is save one for tomorrow because then the next day it just doesn't happen. So that would say momentum doesn't exist. I think it's harder for a pitcher like Marcus Stroman to carry it 5 days later into another start. But that said, when they're feeling their mechanics and stuff and it's going well and they can carry that into the side session, they're able to build on that. So I just don't buy the whole thing that momentum is not any part of sports whatsoever. I think anybody that's played even high school or little league or anything, there is something. If you make 7 free throws in a row, don't you feel better about your chances? Don't you feel like you've got the arm in the same groove that you had at the time before? To me, that makes you more likely to make the shot than if I was here on one shot and here on another shot and I'd missed 4 in a row. I don't know what the answer is, but to me, when I saw they were rained out, I was a little bummed out because we had just seen the chat and Twitter angry at a lot of Cubs players after the first 3-4 games. And it was Hosmer needs to go, bring up Mervis. Bellinger wasn't worth it. He's a bust. Get him out of here. Stop playing him. It was Master Boney didn't dive. He's the worst player ever. Why is he even here? And then we saw all of these guys contribute on a major basis, obviously last night, but Hosmer's been good a couple games in a row. Bellinger's been good a couple games in a row. And I hope they're able to stay feeling confident about themselves or whatever they were doing well at the plate doesn't just fall off because now they won't play for a day as they return home to Chicago to take on the Rangers. Do you think I'm crazy?
No, I don't think you're crazy.
Save that.
I just I guess I'm more bummed just because I like watching the Cubs. I mean, I don't know. Like it is what it is. What it is. Beginning of the year, these rainouts happen all the time in April. So I'm whatever about it. All I know is that hopefully some of that momentum or confidence built last night continues moving forward, because the Cubs schedule over the next few weeks is not easy. They don't get to play teams like the Reds. And as much as I'm going to lean into the bit of, when it comes to Bellinger or Hosmer especially, of, oh, these guys perform well against said bad team, doesn't count because they played said bad team. Yeah, they got to perform better against good teams. And at this point, they didn't perform well against the Brewers. So I'm intrigued to see what this lineup can do against a Rangers team that's at least significantly better than the Reds. So I guess for the next 2 days, that's what I'm going to be thinking about. And I don't like, that's annoying. I'd rather just like see it. You know what I mean?
Right.
But again, it's a good rest for early in the year and, preparing for honestly a big series, because with the way the schedule is made now, like the Cubs have to at least come out of these next couple weeks 500, in my opinion, if they're going to be, in the race in July. They have to find a way to win some games against some of these good teams, and I think they can.
It's good on the injury front. Seiya Suzuki is supposed to face Brandon Hughes in another sim at bat. And I heard David Ross in the pregame stuff as I was heading to the studio and then turning around. And it was basically, he's good. He called his oblique a 10 out of 10 right now. So assuming things go well in Arizona with this sim, maybe we don't have to worry about the right field platoon situation that everybody's been getting a little hot and bothered about, like who deserves to be in right field. Listen, it might only be 5 games. Like it's coming along much faster than we ever thought it would. I thought the Cubs would be very cautious, but if they say it's 10 out of 10, and he did check swings even the last time and didn't have any issues, and he's coming back, and it's supposed to be warm this weekend. Like I think Sunday's supposed to be 70 degrees. So maybe that way it does benefit the Cubs. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see.
Madrigal in the lineup. What did you think of that? Were you what did you think of Wisdom not being in the lineup today? I know it doesn't matter now because the new lineup will come out for the game against the Rangers on Friday anyway. And we assume Stroman's going to pitch on Friday, right?
I would assume so, yeah.
Stroman's pitching Friday.
Yeah.
I would say that as far as Madrigal, like I think the matchup fit well for him. Hunter Green throws a lot of fastballs. I think Madrigal's a good fastball hitter. I get it from a standpoint of, like, if you're against it, I get it, because Wisdom's had a couple good games this week for sure. And last night we spent 15 minutes defending the guy after everyone was like, for the all off season saying that they needed to get someone different than him. But I also have said that you got to get Madrigal in there. I just didn't want to see him at third base on consecutive days. If you could get him in there some other way outside of that, then great. So, like, I didn't mind seeing him in the lineup today. I know Ryan disagrees with me on that, but I'm sorry, I don't want to see Madrigal at third base on consecutive days. But he didn't play at third base the last 2 days. Okay, fine. You gotta get, if he's gonna be on your roster, if you want to see Christopher Morel cut the strikeouts down in the minors, and you still want to see Mervis get more seasoning down in AAA, then and this is what we're dealt, then okay, you have to play the guy when you can. And I thought that the matchup against Hunter Green today was a good one for him. So I wasn't upset about it. I'm sure the casual or anyone who just doesn't like Madrigal or wants to even deal with him probably didn't like it. But I mean, that I could insert another player's name in there. That's, I guess, in a way polarizing, and people would think the same way. So,
they had an interview. I was going to say, Ryan, they had an interview with Zach Zaidman on The Score, talking with Madrigal about playing third base and kind of the adjustments that he's had to make. And I know a lot of people still don't believe he can play third base, but he was told, especially when they started making moves and started signing Dansby, but even before that there was a really good possibility that if he wanted to make the team, he was going to have to be more versatile. And they said, start taking reps at third base, right? Yeah. So he mentioned the fact that the most difficult part about playing third base for him, something that he hadn't really done, but it was open to, isn't necessarily the throw, although he admitted that some guys are able to just use a super strong arm to get it over to third base, where he has to collect his whole body and get his whole body into the throw over to third base. So it's a more difficult play for him, but that doesn't make it an impossible play for him. He said the most difficult part about playing third base versus second base for him is really the mental side of it, in that the decision into what you're going to do, how hard you're going to throw it, getting your body in position, all of those things happen so much quicker at third base that he said, when I'm at second, I literally can take my time. I can gather the ball, take my time, and then worry about who's running down first base. He's like, you have to know all of those things and make that decision and those decisions in the blink of an eye at third base. And so that's been the most challenging part, not the part of, hey, I have to know third base. He did say, yes, I guess it could carry over offensively. He admits he takes more time taking infield practice before games than he would if he were just over at second base, a position that he's played a lot in his career. But he doesn't think it detracts from him during the game. So I just thought it was an interesting conversation they had with him. What have you thought of him at third base, Ryan? In the time at spring training that you were there, what did you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not like he's going to be an all-star Gold Glove third baseman, right? Like he's making, for the most part, the plays he needs to make. Yes, the fact that he's going to have to put like a third base is hard because he doesn't have the arm that third you want in a third. He doesn't have the arm that Patrick Wisdom does over at third base.
Right.
Whereas Patrick Wisdom, that arm speed can sometimes make up for maybe a little bit slower of gathering or whatever. Nick Madrigal doesn't really have that luxury because of his arm strength. And so, yeah, so I completely understand what he's talking about as far as the just going through the process mentally. Like, you don't have time to really think about it. Like, second base, you have a whole lot of time to get it over to first base. Third base, you don't have that luxury anymore. So, yeah, I understand. But he's looked fine. He's looked fine at third base. He's made the plays he should be making. Maybe he's got, you're probably going to have some of those plays where he has to backhand one down the third base line and he just doesn't have the arm to get the guy out going to first. Right? Like, that's probably going to happen while he's playing third base, just because he doesn't have the arm strength. Now, that said, I don't disagree with Cody that Madrigal shouldn't be in 2 days out of 3. In my opinion, that shouldn't matter. It's just based on, are they putting him at third base in situations that don't make sense for him? If you got 2 straight days with lefty pull heavy lineups in there, and you put Nick Madrigal out there both those days, because that's that, again, as we talked about, that is a situation that masks his flaws at third base, right? Because at that point, he's not going to be getting rockets down third base all the time anymore. Like, there's going to be, if it's a lefty pull heavy type lineup, there's going to be a lot less situations where you need Nick Madrigal to make a play at third base, just in that situation. So if that's the case, like, I don't have a problem with him playing third base as long as he's making the plays that need to be made. On the offensive side, and this is for this game specifically, as we talked about, Patrick Wisdom had a good last few games. He's had a good start to the year at the plate. Nick Madrigal has had fewer opportunities. Hasn't looked great while he's been out there, but that comes with when you're a bench bat and you're not playing every day. Like, the rhythm, it gets a little hard to get in the rhythm. But I'm not trying to make too many excuses. Like, he has to take advantage of the opportunities when he gets it. Now, for today, people are already angry that he's in instead of Patrick Wisdom. And this is, I had a stat here, and it's a baseball savant search. I'm not a baseball savant. So I'm like, I did my best to try to figure it out. So Hunter Green last year, he averaged 98.9 miles per hour on his fastball. This year he's averaging 100, but we're going to go on the low end, 98 mile per hour fastballs, right? A lot of his, his heat, you look at his heat maps, he's hitting the top of the zone, or outside the zone, but so the high fastballs, that was probably, if you look at heat maps, that's where it's kind of leaning, is that high fastball. Patrick Wisdom, throughout his career, again, I believe I did this right. If anyone wants to correct me and do their own search, like, please help me out. I could use the help. But it looks like in his career, he's striking out, his strikeout rate, 37.5%. He's put 2 balls in play off 46 of those. Again, this is 98 mile per hour
on high
fastballs.
heat. Yeah.
High heat, 98 miles per hour, not just any type of velocity. Like 98
Extreme
specifically
high
or higher. Heat. Yes. He's 46 pitches. He's only put 2 balls in play. Neither of them have been for hits. His weighted on base average in those situations, 258. Now, I understand Patrick Wisdom has had a solid start to the year, but you put him out there against Hunter Green's high heat, and he strikes out twice in 6 pitches, people are going to be pissed off at Patrick Wisdom again. So now why are you putting him in a situation where it just has not worked for him? Like you hope that he, figures out how to start hitting those high heat fastballs with more regularity. But for right now and throughout his career, he hasn't done that. So wouldn't you want a guy, especially facing Hunter Green, a guy like Nick Madrigal, who can put the bat on the ball, who has a better shot at handling that, maybe even getting a base hit? Then later in the game, when the Cubs hope Hunter Green's out of the game, you have Patrick Wisdom as your bench bat, and he can come in a situation that better suits what his strengths are at the plate.
And a better defensive replacement.
Yeah.
Too.
There you go. That too. So that just made more sense to me facing Hunter Green specifically. Now you have the Reds threw a guy out there that fastball averages like 93 miles per hour, doesn't generally hit the top of the zone. Of course, you'd be fine with Patrick Wisdom being back in there for the third straight day or whatever. This is not a matchup that fits what Patrick Wisdom does well. And as much as you want him to kind of stay on that rhythm of playing every day, hitting really well, getting the at-bats, you're more likely to see a day where he struggles at the plate against Hunter Green than what he's done so far. So I understand David Ross not having him in the lineup. I don't know that it has more to do with Patrick Wisdom and who he's facing versus wanting to get Madrigal in the field. I'm not in David Ross's head. I don't know why he made that decision. But if if I'm looking at it from, I'm putting my manager's hat on, and that's how I look at it. I want to put the best lineup out there for the situation that I'm in on pitch 1. 70 pitches later, Hunter Green's out of the game. Then I start thinking about putting Patrick Wisdom in, right? Today, to start, I agree with the way the lineup was made. And people in the chat are probably going to be disagreeing with me. I haven't been looking at it. But that's just if you want to bring statistics and just what these guys have done in their careers into it, don't just look at the lineup, look at the matchup, look at how they handle what the pitcher does best. And to me, it makes more sense.
Right. It's one of these instances where even an old head like me can listen to the stat you just presented and say, okay, you can't just go feel in this decision. You can factor feel and gut into that decision as a manager, but you also have to look at the facts of what a guy has done in his career. Sometimes that didn't exist way back, so I say use everything. I'm not 100% an analytics guy. I still want my manager to have a feel for his players, be able to look at a guy and say his swings weren't great last night or his swings were so good last night that even if the stats that Ryan gave you were what they are, I might say, wow, yeah, but he's so locked in. This is a time where I want to see if he can actually do it. That's a different story. But you also have to factor the Madrigal stuff in, all of it early in the season. So I don't really have a problem with him being in the lineup today.
And another thing is and I don't know this off the top of my head. I didn't go back and look at the pitches he's swung at and missed at or whatever through this since the season started. But think about the fact that Patrick Wisdom may have looked really good at the plate, but there's probably a couple high heat fastballs that he swung right through, right? He may still be not hitting those with regularity. Maybe he's doing it a little bit better, but it may still be a thing where he's, you've seen him still miss high heat, even though the rest of the plate he's been doing pretty well. So again, I don't know that for sure. I would have to go back and look at it, but that could also factor in the decision where it's he's hit well, but he still isn't hitting that well, that part of the plate well. That could be it too.
And by the way, the high heat's over Madrigal's head too, so he can just walk on 4 pitches.
There you go.
Buddy, go.
I was just going to say that on top of what we're saying is, and how we were kind of defending him last night, I still believe that when you put him in the best situations, he can be a valuable player. I've always said that he can't be someone who's going to, be the focal point of driving in runs and all that. But if you put him in the best situations, he can be a valuable player. And so, yeah, that's why I didn't mind that he wasn't in there today. And you do make a good point, Ryan, about Madrigal. If he were to play 2 days in a row, depending on, who the Cubs are facing, what the lineup looks like, or what the pitcher, what his type is, whatever. The only pushback I have on that is just, again, he's just not a prototypical type of third baseman, and we've talked about the power on this team. So that's the only thing that gives me anxiety over that process. But again, I also think that the Cubs have to play him some. They have to play him some because I just don't know what else you're going to do with him unless you're going to have days where and I don't think they should do this. I don't think they want to do this, but unless you were to move Swanson to third one day and Horner to short and then put Madrigal to second, and again, I'm not advocating for that.
Right.
I'm just saying that would what is going to happen when Suzuki comes back and then you who's playing right field every single day. And, then you can't really mix and match with third and right field. You know what I mean? Because we've seen Wisdom out in right field some days. I think over the weekend he played right field one day and Madrigal was at third. I'm just saying, they do have to play him, but I am worried about how they're going to play him once say Suzuki comes back. And I know he's obviously a clear trade piece, and they have to they have to get build his value some way. So in a way, I do understand that they have to play him some. Sometimes it's just going to give me anxiety until they figure it out, because they clearly have a lot of infielders and not enough space to play them all, because they're going to play Swanson and Horner every day. They should. So,
and he's not a prototypical DH either.
Right.
He's not a prototypical DH. He's not a prototypical third baseman. He's a second baseman, but they have Nico Horner at second base, who wants to play almost every day. So,
and he should. He's
and so
he's
getting
top
him in
three
the
player on
lineup,
your team, he should. And
Madrigal even said that he jokes with the Cubs, but is somewhat serious about the fact that, hey, he shags flies in the outfield. If they want him to learn the outfield, he'll learn outfield to try and get playing time. Whatever it would take, he's open to being that guy, which I give him credit for. The guy's trying to hang on to his career, get his career going, and injuries have made it difficult for him, along with some other things, to find playing time. So he's doing what he can. We'll talk about the Jim Callis prospect rankings and where the Cubs top 30 prospects are at, because I know Gary in the chat has been asking for that. We will talk about that today in just a second. First, though, Cody and I are going to tell you about the ComEd program that, is sweeping the nation right now. It's something you guys, if you got a business, you want to be aware of. That's for sure.
Yeah, this is fun. Me and Luke are going to tell you about this. The ComEd Energy Efficiency Program is committed to helping families and businesses in the communities they serve, helping manage energy usage and lower energy bills now and into the future, Luke.
Well, that's right, Cody. And ComEd also offers a wide variety of incentives on lighting and other efficiency upgrades to commercial, industrial, public sector customers of all sizes across their territory. And they offer these free facility assessments that can help you find energy-saving opportunities. We're talking about HVAC systems, commercial kitchen equipment, industrial processes. It's kind of an interesting thing.
Well, I'm very interested. How does this work?
Okay, so an authorized engineer will work with you to develop a detailed assessment plan specific to your goals and needs. They can be done in person or virtually. They last about 2 hours. Then within 3 to 4 weeks, customers get a report from them detailing energy efficiency projects that they can start working on right away. Each recommendation will include estimated energy savings, cost savings, project costs, potential incentives, simple payback, all those things. So really, if you own a business, you don't want to wait on this. You're just wasting money if you don't do this. Get started saving money and energy today. For energy saving tips, lighting incentives, or to schedule a facility assessment, go to ComEd.com/poweringbiz.
Did you say ComEd.com/poweringbiz?
Oh, I did, Cody. And make sure you schedule it today if you got a business, because if you don't, you're a fool. I'm just saying. Let me tell you what else. I forgot to go up and get them. I was going to get my Shady Rays. Today, we didn't need them because of the thunderstorms, but it sounds like the sun's going to be out, coming out again, and we're going to get some nice sunshine in the next few days. some warm weather. Talking 70 on Sunday. In fact, it was warm today. I couldn't believe how warm it was. If we could get just the skies to clear.
The windows were down in my car en route to the CHGO office. The only thing I forgot were my Shady Rays. I was really mad at myself. I left them on the counter here at home. Had the windows down, had some country music playing. It was summer vibes, baby. And the only thing I was missing was my Shady Rays.
Gotta have those. I got mine somewhere around here.
You got them?
I'll put them on while you read.
Shady Rays never understood why sunglasses were so expensive, though. So they just decided, you know what, we're going to go out and change that. And you don't have to break the bank for quality sunglasses this fall. Look at Ryan. He's like a movie star because our friends at Shady Rays have you covered. Shady Rays are premium polarized shades featuring world-class optical clarity, substantial durability, styles cater to everyone and every lifestyle. The best part about Shady Rays is their insane protection program on all of their eyewear. Lost and broken replacements. If you lose or break your shades on day one, they told us they'll just send you a brand new pair. No questions asked. Drop them in a lake, off a cliff, anything. They replace them. Even with that strong protection program, they still manage to make quality that I can tell you holding in my hand seems just as good as any expensive pair I've ever worn. And Shady Rays customers agree with over 200,000 5-star reviews. Shady Rays also provides 10 meals to fight hunger in America with every order placed and have donated over 20 million meals to date. They stand behind their product, told our team that if anybody has a problem, they just throw profit out the window and do what it takes to get it right. Free returns, free exchanges. You either love your Shady Rays or they will pay to ship them back. That's it. Exclusively for our listeners. Shady Rays running their deepest deal of the season using the code CHGO for 50% off 2 or more pairs at shadyrays.com. That's right, BOGO. Buy one, get one free. You get 2 pairs for as low as $54. Redeem only at shadyrays.com, where you can find all their newest and best shades. I love that they're polarized for the fishing. If you look at the water, you see nothing in the water without Shady Rays on. You put the polarized ones on, and it's like looking underwater like you're scuba diving. It's incredible. And same for golf. You find the golf ball on the golf course so much easier. My golf ball is always like off in the rough, can't find it under, in the brush. You put those Shady Rays on and that white ball just pops out like the sun on the golf course.
There you go.
Shady Ray, look at Brian says, Ryan, wow, with the Shady Rays. I mean, we had the vibes last night with the beer bat and the singing of Creed. And today we continue that despite the rain out with Shady Rays.
God bless.
Love my Shady Rays, man. I see. The thing is, like, I don't even have to look at. There's no sun outside, but even I can just look up in my ComEd powered lights right now, and I guess I can look straight at them because I got my Shady Rays on.
Colada says that he's seen Ricketts in Shady Rays. Why not? Why not? That's how you stay rich. You don't waste money.
You don't waste money.
If you have the same product, but it's cheaper, why wouldn't you go with it?
Yeah,
you probably got 2 with that. You probably got 2 with that BOGO.
And while we know that
probably used our code, I wouldn't doubt it. He checks it out. He knows the CHGO code.
And while we know Colada is using that for his bit, if Ricketts really is wearing Shady Rays, I mean, let's be real. At least he's a vibe.
That's right. Yeah. He's probably got those blade ones that Cody has that are.
You can't not be a vibe with Shady Rays on. We know that.
All right. So for Gary, we're going to talk prospects. I saw Lance Brozdowski and Jim Callis had a bit about the top prospects in the Cubs organization. Now, Callis has put out for MLB the Cubs' top 30 prospects, where they're projected to start. He's got, first of all, what I think is interesting is you can go right down the road to South Bend if you live in the Chicago area, and there's quite a few of these guys that you can catch in South Bend. Kevin Alcantara, number 2 prospect in the organization. If you want to see him this summer and you don't expect him at Wrigley Field, obviously, you want to see Alcantara play. You want to know what he really is. You want to see him with your own eyes because you don't trust just prospect rankings that you see or hear from goofballs like me or who else. Like, go ahead and see him with your own eyes. Kevin Alcantara, South Bend, high A, number 2 prospect in the organization. We saw that Cade Horton's going to Myrtle Beach. He's got Wesneski number 5, which is interesting, huh?
No, I think he was one of those guys that, like, Wesneski's obviously still a prospect, right? And I've seen, I think Brian Smith, our friend from Bleacher Nation, has kind of alluded to the fact, I think it was Brian, that like maybe some of these rankings that don't have a guy like Wisniewski in there. Just not that they don't consider him still a prospect, but the fact that he's in the major leagues, he does all, he's has some experience now, but that may be affecting him as far as like Cubs prospect rankings or even top 100 type rankings. But no, to have Hayden Wisniewski this high, I mean, I think he's still a prospect, right? He's still not enough service time to have completed his rookie year, so he's still a prospect, and he's really, really good. He's a really good pitching, quote unquote, prospect now in this system. So I definitely understand the putting Hayden Wisniewski at number 5 from Jim Callis' point of view. One guy I wanted to look at was Jordan Wicks, who's ranked number 6. He's starting in Tennessee. I remember talking to the Cubs farm director Jared Banner earlier when I was down in Mesa, and he said at the time he didn't really know where Jordan was going to start the season. Clearly, it's Tennessee, but man, if he pitches well, I can't see him being down in Tennessee for all that long. I think they look at him, they look at him and see what he's done, and very little time in the minor leagues. I know he was a college arm, but he's kind of moved through the system pretty quickly in a short amount of time since being drafted. Here's a quote from Jared Banner from down in Mesa from earlier this spring, back in February. It's about Jordan Wicks, quote, "Behind his talent, his work ethic, his desire to get better, I think the sky is the limit for him. We don't put ceilings on anyone around here. We're always looking for players to kind of outdo any expectations the outside world may be putting on him, but we don't put expectations on anyone. We just try to make them better every single day, and Jordan is one of those guys that looks at pitching like that himself. He's gotten better every day." Yeah. A lot of faith in that guy from the Cubs organization. I think Brian Smith had him pretty high up in his. I think he was number 7 in his prospect rankings. I'm sure everyone else that ranks the Cubs have him relatively high, especially when you just look at pitching prospects in the system. So I can't imagine if he's pitching well, it'll be too long before he's finally getting that promotion. That last step before the major leagues in Iowa.
Yeah. So I agree with you on Jordan Wicks. There's a lot to like there. Another guy in Tennessee that I'm intrigued about is Porter Hodge, who I was going back and forth with Brian Smith on Twitter last night. I can't remember. I think it was he tweeted a screenshot from Arizona Phil, I think is his name, from Cub Reporter, I think, talking about him and how he might be the Cubs' number 1 pitching prospect in the system now, if you don't count Hayden Wisniewski. Which we saw what he could do in Myrtle Beach last year. I think he ended up getting like a late season call to South Bend, but they're putting him in Tennessee to start this year, which is a little surprising to me. So I'm intrigued to see how he does there. So I'm excited about that. If there's one concern I might have, and it's not even really a big concern, DJ Hers is starting the year with like extended spring training. Just don't really know why. And so like, I just hope that, he's just still getting revved up, kind of like how we were worried about Keegan Thompson or whatever in a way. Maybe the velo's not there. I don't know. But just to see that on the list was kind of like, oh, what's going on here? So, and we've talked about him possibly making his major league debut this year, so at some point, probably later in the year. So to see him starting the year extended spring training, I don't know. I guess I'm a little bummed because I was excited to see what he was going to do to start the year, whether it was in Tennessee or Iowa, because he spent a lot of time in Tennessee last year with Jordan Wicks. So,
yeah, Porter Hodge is somebody that all the prospect guys seem to be excited about. Athletically super gifted, and I think a lot of people just think he needs to develop a little bit more, develop some pitches, including, I believe it's a changeup. They say like if he can develop a changeup, it's just going to make him so much more effective. And so you see a lot of those guys. I will say, while I said South Bend, let me give you the list of guys that are in Tennessee. If you're up for making a trip to Tennessee this summer and you want to see what the next wave of Cubs prospects will look like, first of all, Pete Crow Armstrong's there. It's AA. You go down the list and you get Jordan Wicks, number 6, Tennessee. You get Ben Brown is there, number 8, Tennessee. You get Owen Casey, number 13 there. Daniel Palencia, number 14, Tennessee. Miguel Amaya, Tennessee. He's number 15. Porter Hodge, we mentioned 21. Who else is there? Tennessee. Chase Strumpf is there. Ryan Jensen. So there's a pretty good list of prospects in Tennessee, too. That'd be a good place to make a road trip this summer. It is interesting that you look at the list and you see, first of all, Ed Howard in South Bend. Well, I would like to see Ed Howard in South Bend. Caleb Killian's dropped all the way to 18. And it's interesting to see that he's there. And I saw somebody in the chat say, well, he hasn't pitched very well in a while. He had a bad first start when he was sent down from camp to the minor. Like, it was not good. But he was, prior to that, they were Ryan had a report about it when he was down there about how he had hopefully fixed his stride. It was going to work. It was going to help with his mechanics. That was all going to help with his control. Don't give up on a guy just because he's, number 23, 24, 21, whatever it might be. I saw somebody in the chat also asking, so who's the most likely guy to come up first, right? The chat's asking, like, which one of these prospects, it's EvoX 73 says, who's going to be the guy that's going to come out first? Who gets cut or sent down? I mean,
it's got to be Mervis.
That depends on, first of all, most likely, probably injuries. More likely will it will impact the injuries. Like, I would say, is Brennan Davis, well, first of all, Wesneski's already there, but you look at Brennan Davis, you hear the name Matt Mervis a lot, and those guys mentioned as the next wave. Cam Sanders is a guy who's not even on this list, who might be the first guy called up, or Jeremy Estrada might be the guy who's called up right away if they need bullpen help. So just because a guy's at the top of the list, Pete Crow Armstrong, certainly doesn't mean he's the most likely to jump to the majors right away. That list will come scattered from all over the place depending on need.
Yeah, I think if we're looking at it just from this top 30 specifically, like a guy like Jeremiah Estrada is
that would be my guess.
He's on the 40 man already. Like he's right there. And when you talk about like relievers, right? Like there's going to be some points in time where they just need a guy to come up, rather than some guys feeling something or he's pitched a bunch, and like that's where options and all that stuff come in. I don't know, it's just a name, but like a guy like Michael Rucker, I believe, still has options left. So he is someone that could be shuttled down to Iowa. Jeremiah Estrada comes back up, and I don't know the exact time length that a guy needs to be, or before a guy can be brought back up after being optioned. I believe there's 10 days or something like that. So that doesn't like automatically help and make it easy. But because Jeremiah Estrada's on the 40 man, like that makes it that much easier for a guy like him to, when an injury happens or they just need a reliever to come up, like Estrada's kind of right there ready to go. So I think if we're looking at this top 30 list, like he's probably right up there for me. And then, Cody said Mervis. I think Mervis has a lot to do with, number one, just health, but two, just the performances of those guys in the big leagues right now. If Eric Hosmer is actually hitting the ball decently and playing good defense, which he has, he's played solid defense so far. If we're a month from now and he's still playing solid defense and actually surprising us at the plate, like even at that point, I don't see any rush to get Mervis back up, right? Or to get him up for the first time. Same with Trey Mancini. I think once Seiya comes back, a lot of Trey Mancini's time will be that first base DH. But if he's playing well, if he's healthy, both those guys, right? If they're both healthy and playing well, like there's no need to rush Matt Mervis to the big leagues. Like now, if you get to a point where Eric Hosmer is just not performing or he's hurt or whatever it is, then that changes things. But for Mervis, it just kind of depends on what that first base group, what they're doing, how they're feeling, what their health is, before I think Matt Mervis really has that shot to come up. Or maybe he hits the smoke out of the ball for a whole month and like forces them to bring him up. I don't know. I don't know how this front office is gonna work if Matt Mervis is literally just lighting up AAA for an entire month. So that's another one that I think depends on a few different factors, but it may not be for it won't be for long. Like, I don't think it's gonna be forever. I think we'll still see Matt Mervis at some point this year. It may take a little bit of time depending on some things.
Yeah.
Gerard with a
Christopher
great
Morel
comment.
is also another name.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think most people consider him,
He's no longer a prospect.
like
Right.
Wesneski. I don't consider him a prospect, so that's why you wouldn't see him on the list. But guys to be called up, yeah, you would hope that Morel's probably on that list. One of those relievers struggles. I think Estrada is probably a name that's pretty high on that list. Gerard with a great comment in the chat saying, "Great to see minor league baseball players approve their first ever union contract. They won 2 times to 4 times pay increases, new housing, transportation benefits, healthcare, well deserved." I'll be honest with you, I don't know how it wasn't better. I don't know how it was allowed to be what it was. Anyway, that's coming from someone who I went through jobs that paid literally nothing in TV, but it's not the same. This is Major League Baseball overseeing these guys. They own the rights to these players who are like the most valuable thing an organization can have right now, right? Like, we've seen the Cubs turn the prospects into their most valuable asset. It's not the guys that are in the middle of their career or you're trying to be in the happy middle ground. Prospects have become, in almost every sport, uber valuable as owners try to find ways to win with cheaper costs. And it's spread throughout the team. So when you see how valuable they are, I found it fascinating in the first place that these players didn't have a much better life than they did in the mind. Like, I know you can't make Des Moines, Iowa, New York City, but you can make, or Myrtle Beach, New York City. But these aren't horrible places, and you can give them good places to live. You can give them better pay and not make them feel like they have to be rushed to the major leagues to survive, right? You don't want your best prospects eating pizza every night. So give them some money so they can afford whatever they want.
Yeah, and I don't remember. I think it was Morel last year, just kind of talking about when he, first got. I think it was Morel, and I don't want to. It was some prospect. I like in my mind it's Morel, but I'm not 100% sure. But it was one of the Cubs, young guys talking about when he first got here. He was eating like crap when he first got here because he didn't really know the language, didn't know the area, didn't the food kind of stuff. It was new. And I mean, the fact that there's so many minor leaguers out there that are having to work, jobs over winter when they should be training for baseball, like having to take other jobs, like it always felt weird to me that these guys that major league teams are having them play all this time and do all this work and work their way up to the big leagues, but they're not paying him a wage that allows them to even really survive. Just playing baseball. So I think it was a good thing. I think, the getting their own CBA helps. And I know that teams have made incremental steps to make things easier. I know there's, some teams were starting to provide housing for minor leaguers and better pay and whatever
Cubs
it is.
has done a better job.
Yeah.
Cubs have done a better job than some teams. Max Bain showed us some pictures last year, right, of where he was staying, and it looked like a pretty nice place. Ryan, or Cody, I should say, do you have a DraftKings pick of the week, by the way? College hoops, you can't bet on the kids dribbling basketballs anymore.
I know. It's such a rip in peace. I can't wait for college football season. The Masters is this weekend. I'm going to take Jordan Spieth. You can go on DraftKings Sportsbook, and they have like a boost, like a plus 300 boost to just choose on anyone that you think is going to win. So if I use that, I get it plus 2,100. I don't really have a reason. That's just the guy I'm just randomly choosing because I don't watch golf. But I watch. I'll follow.
But you will bet on it.
I will bet on it. And I'm just gonna, a little sprinkle on Jordan Spieth just because I know who he is. So that's my pick of the week, guys.
That's very nice, Jordan Spieth. I saw it was plus money for Tiger to make the cut.
Yeah, they have another boost for him to finish in the top 20. You can get on DraftKings Sportsbook too, which is, everyone wants to cheer for Tiger, right? So that's not a bad, if you want to do that, it's not a bad bet, I guess, or it's not a bad idea. Bet responsibly.
Everybody loves a comeback story.
Yeah.
By the way, Chicago, you've already got the best coverage for your favorite teams. Now get fitted out in the best sports gear around. Foco's got you covered from Soldier Field to the fan cave in your basement. North side, south side, hoodies, slippers, signs, bobbleheads, everything in between. You can get decked out like tomorrow in apparel from the leader in sports merchant collectibles, Foco. Looking for that perfect gift for your football fan in your life or baseball fan in your life? Well, get those Cubs hoodies. Foco's got you covered. Get you ready for cold days at Wrigley Field early in the season. Check out Foco.com or click the link in the description below for all non-presale items. Use the promo code CHGO for 10% off.
Also, sorry, I was trying to figure out this days for options and how long guys had to stay down. I'll get that because I don't want to be wrong about that. But before I get there, I do have to tell you about Game Time tickets. And we've been talking about Game Time forever. We love Game Time. Like Cody, you've been going to games through tickets you're buying on Game Time. Like how's your experience been with Game Time and just getting the cheapest seats that you could find on the last minute deals?
Ryan, let me tell you, Game Time, first off, what you just said, being able to get them on last minute. Everyone knows that I live in the neighborhood or close to the neighborhood. I just hop on the red line, get there in a matter of like 8 minutes. I don't even have to buy my ticket before I go. I can just get on the train, and when I get up there, I can just get whatever ticket I want for cheaper than what it was probably hours beforehand. Like that's my favorite part about Game Time. It's just being able to get Cubs tickets at the best price right before first pitch. So,
yeah, and I remember a couple years back, if anyone knows who Elenium is, good artist, but me and my friends wanted to go to a concert on Navy Pier, and I was stressing out because I couldn't find tickets or even cheaper tickets, and I wish I had known about Game Time at that time because it would have saved me a lot of stress and a lot of money too if I would have had Game Time at that point in time. Buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. As Cody just talked about, his own personal experiences, you can be like Cody too if you use Game Time. So some of the things we like about Game Time, you get flash deals and last-minute tickets. It's easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. You get the images and the seat views.
That's
and
cool. They just showed that.
Yeah, the lowest price. Yeah, so if you're watching on YouTube, you should go check it out. Or if you're not watching on YouTube, just make sure you go on Game Time and go see what we're talking about. They give you the lowest price guarantees, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, just all that good stuff. Game Time is the place for last-minute ticket deals. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy shows, theaters, and more. The Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section or row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. It's the fastest growing ticketing app in the country for a reason. Again, get images of the seat before you buy so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Buy tickets in a matter of seconds, 2 taps and you're set. Tickets are sent directly to your phone, so you never have to dig through your email. Now, this is important. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHGO for $20 off your first purchase. We got a code, people. We got a code. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHGO for $20 off. Download Game Time today for your last-minute tickets. Lowest price guaranteed. Game Time is the hottest new ticketing site that makes it easier than ever to score the best deals on tickets to sports, concerts, and shows. Ever dreamed of sitting in a seat you never thought you could? The 50-yard line, courtside, behind home plate, at a Cubs game. You won't find a better deal this season on those than with Game Time. It's created by the fans, for the fans, guarantees the lowest price. If you love CHGO, then you'll love Game Time. The best way to support us is by buying your tickets through the link in the description. Join over 50 million people who have downloaded the Game Time app and score the best seats to all your favorite events.
Robbie says that was the best read of the day.
Yeah. The code. I mean, we have to emphasize.
Yeah, the code.
We have to emphasize the code. You just use CHGO, you get $20 off. I mean, we Game Time loves us so much, they decided to give us a code. Shout out.
I mean, that's unbelievable. You want to go to an early game. early
in that
season
code
game right
CHGO.
now. Get tickets, get $20 off. You get to see where you're going to sit, so you can pick out the seat, check out the view, make sure you got a little roof over the top in case it rains like today. In case you're just joining or jumping into things, the Cubs did get rained out in Cincinnati, so that game will now be made up September 1st, split doubleheader with the Reds. So the Cubs are off today. The Cubs are off tomorrow, and then they will play Friday 1:20 against the Rangers. That's our next CHGO Cubs podcast. Will be coming on Friday. We'll have shows for you on Friday as they get ready to take on the Rangers. Nathan Eovaldi will take on, we assume, Marcus Stroman. That just carries over. Eovaldi, by the way, was hit on the leg in his last start. There was some question to whether or not he was going to be able to make this start, but it appears he is. He wasn't great in his first outing. He had an outing that was almost identical numbers-wise to what Wesneski had last night, which some people weren't pleased with. So 5 innings, 3 runs, and the team ended up when they scored like same thing, like 16 runs. So it wasn't really a factor, but he also was hit pretty hard on the leg. And so we'll see if that has any impact on him on Friday.
I wonder if Eovaldi's ever pitched at Wrigley. Like, he's probably pitched at the cell or guaranteed rate, whatever you want to call it. But I think that benefits the Cubs a little bit if he's never pitched at Wrigley before. And I know he spent a lot of his career with the Red Sox, or mainly in the American League. So I don't know if he's ever pitched at Wrigley before.
Well, that's something we could easily look up, but we're running out of time.
Yeah, we got to roll. Anyways, I just wanted to mention that we'll see you on Friday. Thanks to everybody in the chat that joined us. Always appreciate our friends at DraftKings hooking us up. We'll get through this. A couple days without Cubs baseball. If something crazy happens, by the way, emergency podcast isn't out of the question. We're just saying.
Nick Madrigal trade.
Oh, what? Building up the resume. Stock up, stock down. We'll talk about that later.
Oh, boy.
All right, guys. Enjoy the rest of the day. Thanks for joining us in the live chat. Make sure you hit the likes on the way out. Make sure you subscribe. Sign up to be a diehard so you can catch all Ryan's articles throughout the season. And check out the dope merch that was just released in our CHGO locker. 2 new Cubby shirts there for you to check out. Until Friday, thanks for checking out the CHGO Cubs podcast presented by DraftKings, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app. Use the promo code CHGO when you sign up. Fly the W, and we'll see you later. Have a good day.